All right. Well, hello and welcome, everybody. It is Thursday night, July 7th, and this is JoJo Bennington, and I'm here with hubby Vinny Bennington, and we are excited to welcome you to our Three Generations to Freedom Zoom meeting. And I have the amazing Carrie and Dave MacArthur here with me, and also Carl. And is Kathy around, Carl? Is it just you tonight?
She'll probably be along here shortly. She was at a networking group, so it will be Kathy also. Hello, everyone.
Carl and the missing Kathy Lamar for the moment. But the reason that we call this the Three Generations to Freedom is that Carl and Dave and I were the three generations that sort of jumped in and started this crazy mess. And so actually it was really Carrie who kind of was a big catalyst in the middle of this. But Carl met Dave and Carrie, and Dave met me, and we have now, since in the last 11 years, since we all came into this amazing industry, have been named millionaire. Dave and Carrie have been named seven-figure earners, so they are platinums. So nothing special about us, you guys. Carl was a sandwich shop owner. I was a tanning salon owner, and Dave was a Honda mechanic. Carrie was a stay-at-home mom, and Vinny was an electrician. So we were just regular people who saw something amazing and worked through whatever struggles. We had no network marketing experience whatsoever between all of us. And I think Carrie was the only one that really had any sort of network marketing experience coming into this. And we just chose to redefine what we thought that our life could be, and jumped on board and learned some of the tools that and understandings that we're going to talk about tonight, which was really leverage. And I had a normal job, punched a time clock, and started a business and thought that I was going to create freedom for myself that way. And that is not what I got. What I got was 24/7, 365, could never take a breath away from my brick and mortar business. And so in really understanding leverage, things changed for us. And so I really, Dave, I don't know if you threw your whiteboard up, because I'd love you to chat a little bit about leverage and what we've learned about, the cash flow quadrant, which I think could be really eye-opening for some people. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Everybody, this is Dave MacArthur, our own mechanic to millionaire, and the beautiful Carrie MacArthur is sitting next to him. And Carrie and Dave are the reason that Vinny and I are here. So we are very grateful to them, and we've spent a lot of years together creating amazing things. So take it away, guys.
Yeah, last night when I was in Sacramento doing a meeting, I did a leadership or a business meeting, generating wealth beforehand. And so I'll just share with you a couple things throughout the evening here as we go along. But the first one, is there anybody by a show of hands that has not read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or The Business School for People Who Like Helping People? Anybody not read it? Okay, there's some principles in there, and I didn't understand the principles of generating wealth. If I would have known what the principles were, I would have acted accordingly. But I wasn't. I was trying to generate wealth, but I was doing it in a principle-less way. A dinosaur, business model, which is getting a job. So Robert Kiyosaki, it was at 16 months. I was already making a six-figure income, or we were already making a six-figure income with Isogenics. We did it at 13 months, which is $2,000 a week. And it was at 16 months that Lenny handed me the book by Robert Kiyosaki, The Business School for People Who Like Helping People. And in there, he explained briefly the cash flow quadrant. And when I read that book, I was like, oh, that's how we're making $100,000 a year now, because we enacted into our actions the principles that generate wealth. It's not Isogenics per se. It's not Isogenics that makes you wealthy. It's not even the products that make you wealthy. It's not even their compensation plan, because it does allow you to enact the principles of generating wealth. It was a huge aha for me. And it's like Robert Kiyosaki and so many people say, they don't teach these principles in school. They teach you to get a job. And with a job, you are not enacting the principles of generating wealth. So it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're really not going to live a dream life when we think of a dream life of having unlimited time freedom and unlimited financial freedom. Like, we can do what we want, when we want, for as long as we want. Do what you want, when you want, for as long as you want. That's real financial freedom. A job won't do that because it just doesn't enact. People don't act out the principles that create that. So let me just share with you, if we can see this good enough. You might want to put the screen a little bigger on your end. Using something called the cash flow quadrant just to show the contrast from people who do and the people who don't. So the first part is going to be a contrast here.
Hey, so everybody, if you guys want to see Dave larger, then click on speaker view and then it'll just be him up on the screen.
Can you guys see that?
You're good. It's awesome.
Okay. So these four quadrants, they're going to label people. And the left side, this side over here, is going to show people who do not use the principles of generating wealth. They trade time for money. So as a mechanic, I can only fix so many cars during the day. As a massage therapist, you can only massage so many people a day. As a doctor, you can only see so many patients a day. Even attorneys, they might make a lot of money, but it's only because they charge more per hour than a mechanic does. So they can only, sue so many people a day, go to court for so many people a day. Nurses, mechanics, people who work at a store. Fred Flintstone, like, he punched into a time clock, right? You punch into a time clock, you're only going to get paid so much money. And there's a ceiling on how much you can make. So as a mechanic, this top left is the employee. I was an employee of the dealership. So I fix cars. I can only fix so many cars a day. So that was my first job, right? Mechanic. This pen's not working. In my briefcase, there's a green bag in the briefcase, the front zipper. Let's see if this one works. Oh, this one's pretty good. So as a mechanic, we started work. They wanted us there at like 7:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock, really before 8 o'clock. So 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. I just pulled the black one out of there. This one goes dry. As our family was growing, it wasn't enough money to do all the things we wanted to do, and really just the necessities. We were always out of money by the end of the month. And so what I did is I got a second job, and I got a paper route. I was a paper boy, 36, 35 years old. And we got up at 4:30 a.m. because I didn't have to be to work until 7:30. If Carrie went with me, she would fold the papers in the back of the car and throw them up to me. Take an hour and a half to 2 hours. If I did it, it was 2.5 hours to 3 hours. So I'm going to go with the 3 hours because most people did the paper out on their own. Most people didn't do with a couple, and a lot of times I went on my own as well. I figured that out. We get about $600 a month from doing the paper route. If you divide that, it's every day, 7 days a week. I was making $6.60 doing that. But that brought in an extra $600 a month. And did we need that $600 every month? Oh my gosh, we couldn't wait to get that check once a month. So that wasn't cutting it between being a mechanic for 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, and being a paper route boy. So I got a third job where I moonlighted as a mechanic, which means I fixed cars at home at night whenever I could. So there's 3 jobs right there, and we still didn't have enough money to get through the month. And it's not like we were extravagant. We went out to eat occasionally, but we never went out to dinner and a movie at the same time because we couldn't afford that. Our kids got hand-me-down clothes. But in trade for some of these things where we didn't, go to the mall and go shopping at the nice stores, we put our kids in piano lessons, we put them in karate lessons, and, these different lessons, gymnastics and cheerleading and things like that. But still, yeah, and we had a 4th job. We took in a foster daughter. We always had like a kid with special needs, a child with special needs living with us. So, and that paid for all of the extracurricular activities for the kids. So as an employee, I was that was about 14 to 15 hours a day is what I was spending. And we were nowhere near a dream life. I mean, we were driving a 1989 Dodge Caravan with wood paneling on the side, and it was maroon. Everything inside of it was maroon. The dashboard, the carpet, the seats. It was ugly. Okay, and I was driving a 1989 Honda Civic, and when I finally got rid of that, it had over 300,000 miles on it. So as an employee, I was strapped, and that just sucked the life out of me. The bottom left is self-employed, which you would think is going to be the dream come true. The American dream is to own your own business. I had my own shop for about 3 years, and it was so successful and it was so busy that it stressed us out. It stressed me out, and I lost more of my life. After 3 years, even though in spite of it being super, super busy, super, super successful, I walked away from it. I couldn't go on doing it. It was too much stress and too much demand and took me away from the family too much. So Carl, do you want to elaborate a little bit on, and JoJo too, all 3 of us were entrepreneurs. We all had our own businesses. Do you want to you two elaborate a little bit real quick on what it was like owning your own business, the American dream?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I think JoJo and I had similar experiences there about how the dream became the nightmare. And it's too bad Kathy's not here because she could really tell you about it, about how I had this great idea of going around and starting these businesses, and yet we didn't make enough money and I couldn't quit my job. But, Dave, I first wanted to say that, going back to having a job and stuff like that, well, you know what? I'll probably come back to this later because I think you're going to kind of touch on something that really makes sense. And when we owned our restaurants, at any given time, we had up to 30 employees, and they were all high school and college age people, and so kids. And so they weren't all that reliable. If the family went on vacation, they tried to schedule it off. They couldn't get it off. They just didn't show up. And so, as you can imagine, as a small business owner like that, JoJo, who has to show up if your employees don't show up? That's right, you have to show up. And so that, in fact, cost us, so we couldn't have a vacation. And I had a full-time job at the time, so I had to plan for vacation anyway. I had to put in for vacation, and then we couldn't leave the restaurants because we got as far as Las Vegas one time, and we had an employee cut their finger, and we had to rush back really quick. So we make sure we had coverage there and things like that. Because we just didn't make money. If we didn't make money, we couldn't pay for overhead. We couldn't pay for, we wouldn't make the money we needed. We couldn't pay our labor and all that stuff. It was the constant thing hanging over our heads. And so that traditional type of franchise type of business, used to be so sought after, but it's so time consuming. It really consumes all your time. And then you have customers who, you can't imagine. You try and please everybody, but you can't please everybody. And I guess you could say that about our business, but it's not true because I rarely run into unhappy customer in our business. So, it kind of goes like that. And JoJo, I want you to chime in on your experience there because, I was fortunately I was able to, or unfortunately, see and be a part of that.
Awesome. Carl, I totally feel you because we had 3 tanning salons. So at any given time we had, between 9 and 12 16 to 19-year-old girls working for us. So if you realize like what kind of stress and drama that brings, most people don't want one teenage girl in their house. So try having 12 working for you. It was constantly stressful. I did everything from change the lamps in the bed to clean, to do accounting, to take the trash out, to you name it, I did it. And I went from, being a blackjack dealer and a bartender to the tanning salon, thinking having my own thing was going to be my freedom. And that just became my ball and chain. And essentially I spent several $100,000s to buy myself a job, a job that I could never get away from. So I has still had to punch my own time clock, because if I wasn't there with the key in the door, then not only did I not get paid or make money, but no one else did either. So I was responsible for all of that. And yeah, who knew that running into Dave one day would change that thought process for me? But
I never saw you either.
And we never did anything, couldn't go anywhere. The one time we tried to take a vacation, we were in Mexico, and I have a girl who calls me, tells me my salon isn't open, all the money is missing, and I'm like, in Mexico, what do you do? So just crazy. And so this is much better.
So that's the perfect, and it's not like we're trying to draw a bleak scenario. That's just the reality of it. And, so 95% of people end up on this side. So on the left side, 95% of people in the United States, and they end up broke. According to Social Security statistics, they retire broke. So, putting in lots of hours. As a shop owner, I put in way more hours than 14. There were times when I slept at that shop. I just didn't even go home because it was a 50-minute drive home. So why go home at 10 o'clock at night when I'm going to be back 6 o'clock the next morning? So 95%, you guys, on this left side. You don't want to be on the left side, but that's where education, that's where our parents were. They expect us to go. It's just this generational thing that goes on and on. On the right-hand side, so again, employee, self-employed. On the right-hand side is big business and investment. 5%. 5% retire wealthy or are wealthy while they have a big business. 5% in our country, which is total free economy. You can do whatever you want. It's just that people don't know. So let's explain a little bit about what's going on this right side for them to generate enough income that they can do what they want, when they want, for as long as they want. On the big business, Robert Kiyosaki explains it, you can go away from your business unannounced and it does as good or better while you're gone for an extended amount of time, 4 weeks or more. So while you're gone, your business just goes ahead and thrives while you're not there. Nobody has to call you to, get some advice from you. That's a big business. So it does as good or better while you're gone. So let's just call that passive income. It's passively taking care of itself. Passive means you don't have to be engaged in it, right? So you don't have all the headaches. You get to enjoy yourself while you're gone. An attorney that I worked with, when he went on vacation, he hated coming back. He owned the business, and all of the stuff piled up while he was gone, and he had to work twice as hard, a lot longer, just hated going on vacation because what he knew was going to be there when he got back. Another thing that they do is leverage. And that was the big aha for me at 16 months when I was already making a 6-figure income, was understanding what leverage means. And then the last one is residual. Residual income, it just keeps coming in again and again and again from repeat business. Let me just ask you, what were your thoughts? If you've learned since, as I was growing up, I had certain ideas of why people were wealthy. And we came up with 3 of them last night in Sacramento that all 3 of them I thought was why people were wealthy or how they became wealthy. Can everybody be unmuted, JoJo? And we just, or maybe somebody raises their hand. I don't know how it works. Where why did you think people became wealthy? How did they become wealthy? Like the super wealthy? It's 5%.
A really common thing that I'm finding out is people think that they somehow obtained it dishonorably.
Okay, so dishonest. We didn't come up with that one, so I don't know who you're hanging around with, Carl. No, I'm just kidding. Dishonest. Another one was that we came up with was they were born into wealth. They were born that way.
That's what I was going to say, born into it.
Yeah. There's 2 more that we came up with.
Got lucky.
Yeah, lucky was one of them. They got lucky. Growing up in Las Vegas being a blackjack dealer, how many people really get lucky, JoJo?
Well, they get lucky, but then they give it all back. So, very few walk away with it. So does the lottery falls into lucky, right?
Yeah, that's lottery. You win the lottery, that type of thing. Somebody's going to get lucky and win the lottery.
Work hard.
No, we didn't have that one, but yeah, we could say, well.
I got one for you.
Yeah.
You purchase an asset and you sit on it for 40 years, like a piece of land.
Oh, yeah.
And then you sell it. You're an investor, although that's your eye down there, but that's another way that I've seen people get wealthy.
A long-term investment. I also thought that too. Like if you had a good amount of money you can stick away, you could just let that ride out for 30, 40 years, and then hopefully there's a big nest egg at the end of that 40 years waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was, let's see, born into it, lucky, and no, gosh, what was it? It was, you guys won't know it.
What about being an entrepreneur, such as inventing something?
Oh, that was it, inventing. It was an invention. Like you came up with the coolest invention. That's what it was. Invention. Right? Okay. And nowadays, that's even hard. I don't know if you guys saw that movie recently with the gal that did the infomercials and the lifelong fight that she went through for her invention so that it wasn't stolen by somebody else. Now you have people who just copy your invention so quickly that it's out of the game because they have way more money.
I got one more for you, David.
Yeah.
You become a long-term politician.
Ah, there you go.
And
that's being dishonest. Politician. Okay. So yeah, those are the same things that I thought, and it's just like what's the chances, right? They called it probably the only really one that would have been realistic would be getting lucky, waiting for your ship to come in. But realistically, it doesn't happen, right? So what are these guys doing? What's passive, what's leverage, and what's residual? The part that I want to explain now and get your guys' input as well, Carl, and the difference between leverage with your employees versus the type of leverage that we have as Isogenics in the compensation plan. So let me make a little room here. And as a self-employed, we had somebody there that opened, they had their own carpet business for years, for a decade and longer. And residual income, you can have residual income as a self-employed. Like when I had my shop, people would bring their car regularly to us, maybe once every 3 months for an oil change. Unless something broke down, we would see them once every 3 months. For something as little as an oil change, pretty minimal stuff, tune-ups and things like that, once every year, or maybe 6 months to a year. And you'd make a little bit more money on that, a little more profit, but not much. With the carpet, I asked him how often did he see a repeat buyer? And he said, if they came back, it's about every 10 years they would have a repeat buyer. So there's different types of residual income. And he had to be there in order to, do the transaction and make sure everything was taken care of. The carpet was installed and all of that. So let's go into how many hours are in a day. One day has 24 hours. And if you were to add that to how many hours are there in an entire week, so times that by 7, there's 168 hours in a week. Now I was working, let's just say 14 hours, 15 hours a day. I think that came out to about 90 hours a week I was working. 90 hours a week. So we'll just put that up here, 90 hours. Now, one person working 8 hours for a 5-day week. So one person, 8 hours a day times 5 days. How many hours is that? 40. Right? 40 hours working 5 days, 8 hours a day. This is what Robert Kiyosaki started to explain to me. And we've heard this, you may have heard this before, but not really understand what it means, the principle of it. Like, what's the principle of this? What's different about this and that? We don't really think about that, and we're not really taught that. If we were, we wouldn't sleep at night, and we would start putting our actions towards that because we understand the principle. And that the principle is not being enacted over on this side. So you'll never get there. J. Paul Getty said, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. So if I have 100 people just giving me 1% and I got paid on each of their 1% for the day, I could go do what I wanted. I could go to the beach. I could sleep all day. I could work out all day. I could go mountain biking all day. I can go motocross all day. Go swimming all day, lay out by the pool, because they're going to produce 100 people. Only doing 1% will produce what I could have, spending my whole day working. So if you have 10 people just working 1 hour a day, and this will be for 7 days because we're going to go off of the work week. So the work week, there's 168 hours total. Let me circle that one. 168 hours total. 10 people just working 1.4 hours a day for 7 days would produce, what was it? Let me cheat here on my PowerPoint. Would be 100 hours. 20 people doing the same thing would work, I think it's, 200 hours? That's more hours there are in a work week. So 20 people working 1.4 hours a day for me. So they're working a little bit longer than their lunch break. If I just had 20 people doing that, they did more than something that I couldn't possibly ever do on my own. And that is work more hours than there are in a week. I could, if I didn't sleep and I just drank coffee and energy drinks all day, I didn't sleep at all, I can only work 168 hours. So I'm going to get paid for that work. And then if I could work 168 hours, that's it. There's no more hours left. I would be back on Monday, right? So 20 people working for you, just a little over an hour a day, could produce more income than you ever could by yourself. They're doing the impossible. So over here, we're trying to do something impossible. We're not enacting the power of leverage. So how many people want to live their dream life? How many people, and let's just say your dream life is living in your dream home, driving around your dream car, wearing your dream clothes. And you get to enjoy it because you have all the time to enjoy it. You can drive your car as much as you want. You can be in your house as much as you want. You don't have to go to work. How many people would love that? You could just engage with people for the sake of the joy of doing what you wanted to do. And you get to have all those things. Who would want that? Okay? And I got everybody covered up, so let me move that.
No, wash my hands.
Yeah, right? A few of you want to, right? Yeah. Well, if you have a job, if you're on the left side, forget it. You're not going to get it. It's an impossibility. There is no way you're ever going to get it. You would be defying physics and go out and jump off your roof and see if you go up instead of down, because that's what you're asking to have happen if you're working over here. Had I known those principles, I would have done something about it and tried to figure out how to get over here so that my actions matched the principles. See, the cool thing about principles is they have cause and effect. You want to write that down. Principles have cause and effect that never change. They're immutable. You can't change the principle of gravity. You jump off the roof, every one of us, we line up on that roof and we walk off one at a time. Every single one of us, I can guarantee you, are going to fall. That's a principle. Principle of electricity. Here's a plug right here. If it's a hot wire in there, right, Vinny? If I stick something metal in there, I know I'm going to be shocked. Every time I stick something metal in there, I know I'm going to be shocked. So guess what? Because I know those principles perfectly, they dictate my actions. They absolutely dictate my actions. I could put something metal in Carrie's hand, and it would dictate her actions so much that I could try and pull her hand and put it in there, and she would be fighting me and kicking and screaming to not, because she doesn't want the action of putting it in that socket. If we truly understood the principles of leverage and the right side and generating wealth, we would no longer desire to go to our job if we want to live our dream life. We would have to, but every other second of the day that we didn't have to be at our job, we would be working over here, these principles in our lives. Because we know that by doing them, there's a cause and effect. They have to produce wealth. They have to. And I have people who have, when I got into isogenics, I didn't know the principles. The compensation plan automatically instituted and facilitated these principles in my life. Now, I didn't know the principles, but I knew the result because I knew George Ruiz, Don Nooner, and Lenny Evans. They were all living their dream life. Don Nooner paid off 9 homes right here in this town where I live. And he was about to lose his home when he got started in isogenics. And now he paid off 9 of them. 9 homes. He was driving an Escalade. And I just saw his lifestyle. Same with George Ruiz. Same with Lenny Evans. So that's what pushed me to work the isogenics compensation plan, because that's what I was desiring in my life, not knowing these principles. This happens right here. 20 people. I got 205,000 people in my organization. I was talking to Amber last night. Amber Onstein, she was there last night. She has 8,000 people in her group. She does it full time because she's instituted the power of leverage. And then you have the residual income. Our product is highly residual. If I run out of product and I don't have it, I might come to your house and steal it if you're on vacation, because I don't want to run out of it. I haven't missed a day in over 10 years. It's not lipstick that you buy once, every 2 years. It's not carpet that's every 10 years. It's every month. And then the residual passive income, or the passive income, they have their own account. I did the work to get them started. I helped my team build their business. And we have a lot of people that are just going in and ordering their own product. We instituted all 3 of the principles that generate wealth. And it's not just wealth like a CEO. It's because CEOs are stressed out, families destroyed because they're at work all the time, and they're so stressed out, they're taking their own lives, committing suicide, and they were making $500,000 a year. It's not that kind of wealth. What isogenics has is a gift that allows us to live our lives in a way that's a new era. I call the old nutrition dinosaur nutrition. I call the old career, having a job, getting paid, time for money, a dinosaur. That's a dinosaur business model. So now I'm tagging at the bottom of my post, don't be a dinosaur. Do you guys get it? If you understand this, you won't sleep tonight, and you'll start talking to people that you would have never talked to before. But if you don't understand it, it won't dictate your actions. If you don't understand it. You got to get to where you understand these principles, because it will dictate your actions. Just like, how many of you obey the law of gravity? I do, right? Why? Because we know the principles perfectly. So hopefully you get that. And Carl, JoJo, I want you to chime in here, and Carrie. This is such a big deal. It's education.
Yeah, Dave, when we talk about this to other people who have jobs, and we understand, we explain these principles and they understand these principles. The next thing I tell them is to get started right away with whatever amount of time you have, with whatever resources you have, and get started. Get the ball rolling, get the word out there, get excited. And like you said, you know, I did the same thing. I can remember sitting at my desk at work. You know, I was fortunate enough to have my own office. So when I wasn't working, I was connecting. I was coming up with training. I was, you know, all these things, sending out emails and things like that. I just caught the fever, you know. And with Dave, I think that if you look at Dave's background, mechanic to millionaire, I think he had the perfect storm of motivation to get into this thing, because Dave had pain. He had the pain of the health, not that great of health he didn't want. He wanted better health, I should say. He had pain of debt. Dave had the pain of a job that made him feel trapped because he couldn't do anything more other than work other jobs. He had all that pain. He didn't feel good. He didn't feel good about himself. That was pain. And we started talking about isogenics. And then he got hope. Dave had hope. And then he started thinking about the pleasure involved with having good health. Pleasure of feeling good about himself, the pleasure of being around people who are encouraging, who make you feel good. You know, I never once said in a staff meeting at my old job, which I quit 2 years ago, and said, I just love you guys. I mean, I love everything about you. I love the way you support me and we support each other. That never happened. You know what I got? If something happened and you got bad news, my CEO would just say, it's just business. As if that was some sort of lame excuse. That's just what you do. You harm somebody just because it's business. We support each other. We learn from each other. And we want to be around each other because we're like-minded. And so Dave had the pleasure. He was moving away from that pain and toward the pleasure of what he wanted to do and his passion in life, which if you guys aren't getting excited listening to Dave draw these stuff on the board, I get excited listening to him. That's his passion. And he knew he wanted to do it 2-3 days after I spoke to him. And so now he's doing what he loves to do. He went from that pain he was in. That's why I say I think he had the perfect storm of motivation there. So, yeah, I really love what you say there. And of course, there's another principle that we should talk about some other time, maybe next time. We don't have time tonight. But the other principle I feel, in order even to chunk up a level, in order to be able to enable all this, is to have the proper wealth mindset. In other words, you got to be able to accept wealth into your life. And so you look at all those reasons people get wealthy. Those reasons mean that people don't believe they can be wealthy because of those reasons. They think that people luck into it or whatever, right? So once you get that mindset and you understand both these principles like Dave was talking about, man, the magic starts to happen in leaps and bounds. Okay, JoJo.
Benny.
Oh, I just like to say is, you know, it took me a while, as most people know, to jump on this train. And that's because I had that mindset of the upper left quadrant, you know, the employee mindset. And it took a while to get out of that mindset. As Carl said, you know, it's all about mindset. And to be honest with you, it's admirable if you live in that quadrant. It's admirable to have a job. It's admirable to take care of your family. And a lot of people say, well, that's the American dream. You know, you work 40 hours a week, 40 years of your life, and you retire and you take care of your family. I get that. But honestly, in my opinion, now that I've caught on to this and I've caught fire, it's not the American dream. That's the corporate American dream. That's what those people in the B quadrant up in the right-hand side want you to be. They want you to be in that on the left-hand side in that E quadrant because that keeps them in the B. Mm-hmm. And I you know, it took me a while to understand that as an employee. I'm not an employee anymore. I'm an employer. I'm in the B quadrant, and that's where I'm going to stay.
You know, truly that thought process of, and not that we don't believe in education, because we absolutely do. I can say I've learned more in the last 11 years and I learned more than I ever did in school. But, we say if you don't go to school, you're not going to get a good job. If you don't do this, you're not. Everything comes back to you're not going to get a good job. And so we say the rhetoric that our parents said that their parents said to them, and which was, if you don't go to school, you're not going to get a good job. And we just know that, especially here, like in Las Vegas, we see that about 60% of our graduating class from the college here doesn't have a job in the field that they went to school for, because they're just not there. And so they graduate with a ton of debt and no job. And it's a sad state of affairs. So what if we could teach them how to go to school, get their education, and while they were doing that, build a residual income for themselves. So when they graduated, not only did they graduate without debt, but with the choices to be able to do what they want. So if they want to go work in that field, they could do that. But if they want to go work on the beach with a computer somewhere, they have the option to do that, or contribute back to the world in a way that we could have never imagined them doing, just going to get some corporate job. It's such a bigger picture than what we have in front of us. And we talk a lot about the money, and people say, well, money's not everything, but it buys time and choices. And when you can bring a parent home to spend time with their kids, so they can take their kids on a real field trip and, go study turtles in Maui. I mean, that's a field trip, right? So it's just a different thought process. And we get so stuck into the fact that if I'm not punching a time clock for someone else, then, there's the fear that comes with that of having someone else pay your bills because you're there working for them, and that's a steady thing. And it can be scary to step out and redefine yourself. And we've all done that, and we can all do that. The only thing that it takes is the decision to step up and make that choice. And, I know that it's been a huge transition for us. It's been a good transition for you, coming from electrician. He wasn't born an electrician. He didn't come out of the womb with wire strippers on his hand. That was a skill he had to learn. And so coming into this, it was just a new skill. And that's for all of us. We all had to learn what we did. And now we're choosing something else, right? So I don't know, Carrie, do you have something you want to add in?
Yeah, she does.
Is it muted?
No.
So I can just testify to what JoJo was saying about education, just because I just was there. And when I went back to school, it was right when the market crashed, and there were a lot of people in desperation going back to school, a lot of untraditional students that were, my age and older, that every day in class were stressed out, and a lot of women would cry, and I just can't wait to be done so I can get a job and I can start making money again. And I was going because I wanted to be there, and I didn't have to get a loan, and so to me it was a whole different experience. And I remember I would tell people about what I did, or what we did, and because they were like, how do you come and you're just relaxed and you get to leave and travel all the time? Like, how can you do that? And so I would tell them, and it was just so ingrained because it's what we've been taught since we were little. You go to school, you get a degree, that's how you get a good job. And I love school, and I'll speak up and for anybody, yes, go get your education, but not for the job. But the thing that hit me, because I would get kind of I would stop telling people almost, because nobody would really be open to hearing, how can you live my life instead of your life and still be able to, enjoy going to school? And the last class I was in, there was this poster hanging on the wall, and I took a picture. You can't really see it, but I think I'll post it in the ISA M2M page. That still is ingraining. Like, they're saying, if you don't graduate from high school, you'll make $15,000 a year. If you get an associate's degree, you can make $31,000 a year. If you get a bachelor's, $41,000. Then they say if you get a doctorate or a professional degree, which is the highest, so that's like 12 years of school, you can make up to $81,000 a year. And they don't mention in here how much student loans they have or what the payment is every month to pay that off afterward. they don't mention, if you're a professional degree, that's like a surgeon or a specialist, how many hours you have to work every day and how you're married to your job. I mean, how much time are you going to have to spend the money that you've been working or that you've been earning? They don't mention that at all. And I just posted on Instagram back in, I think it was December. I said they need to add another column because our annual income is like more than 10 times that, 81,000. And it was just learning skill set on the job, getting paid on the job to learn the skills as we went along. But then I'm going to school doing what I wanted to do and loving every minute of it because we could pay for it. And I started to realize, just as Dave was talking, if I would have approached my fellow classmates with this that he just taught, their eyes might have been opened and they might have listened to me. So I recommend that you watch this over and over and you really understand what it is, because that could really be, if somebody is in that stuck in, I have to go to school and to get a degree and I have to exchange time for money mode, that they're not willing to listen to you. Maybe approaching it from you just having this education so you can explain this to them may open their eyes and help them to get excited about something again. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I just want to finish up with a couple thoughts. And just based on what Carrie just said, what I'm noticing with school loans, school loans are the new pharmaceutical. They're big pharma. They are a huge business, and they know it. And they're getting unsuspected children, I'll say, students, and they're putting chains around them even more for the sake of making money and giving them these loans, giving loans out like they're going crazy. It's the new. What they did in the housing, giving everybody loans for housing, knowing that they weren't going to be able to pay them back. But it's big business for these school loans. And I'm like with Carrie, education for sure. Get as much education as you can, however you do that, on your own, reading books, going to seminars, finding a mentor, whatever. The other thing that I wanted to say too, in the meeting last night, when I showed the principles, somebody said, yeah, but being on that left side is comfortable. No, it's not. It's not comfortable at all. I wasn't comfortable. It was making me pray to want to die. And I was fighting it. It was like hitting my head against the wall, though, trying to get the results or the principled results, the cause and effect from somewhere that you cannot get them. Physically impossible. And JoJo, when we were talking this afternoon, what was it that you said? I said they said they were comfortable, and you said no, and I don't remember what the word was. You remember?
You learn how to tolerate being.
Tolerate.
That's your. Even though you're uncomfortable and miserable, you learn how to tolerate that place, that unhappy place of misery, because that's just the pattern every day.
You don't know what else to do. You don't know the principles. And so again, if you don't have sleepless nights about the comp plan, then you don't see the principles of leverage in it yet. You've got to have 2 or 3 nights where you can't sleep with the Isogenics compensation plan because you're so dang excited. Then when you start combining it with this stuff, you realize, why am I trying to hang on to my job? It's like Carl was saying, you're not taking on the new concept of seeing yourself as a wealthy person. And that is another issue, maybe the next, one of these that we have, we talk about changing the concept of yourself. But logically, you could realize that your efforts at your job are fruitless when it comes to you living your dream life. It's just going to be survival. You're going to get your survivals taken care of, your food, shelter, and clothing. That's really about it. Maybe some people might get a little more than that, but each week it starts all over again. So when you see that the principles aren't instituted, why would you do that? It would be like keep sticking your hand in the light socket or keep jumping off your roof and keep getting hurt. It's the same. The parallel is exactly the same. It's just a matter of which degree do you realize it. So then you start to focus and you start to do things that you wouldn't do before because it's dictating to you to act differently. Why? Because you see things differently. And until you see it differently, you won't act differently. And I'm trying to force this into everybody's head. There's a difference between it being forced into your head, like I'm trying to get it in there so you understand, and there's a difference between that and you bringing it into your head and understanding it. Big difference. So hopefully there was some guided discovery tonight. JoJo?
No question. I know we have a hand raised, so I think we could address that. Paul, I don't know where you're at.
I'm right here.
Okay, good. I can't see your face. You must be on my other page, but there you are. Hey.
Just wanted to make a point. You had mentioned about Vinny getting skills as an electrician. Just to touch on that, I'm a licensed master plumber in Connecticut, and I don't know how long your apprenticeship was, Vinny, but mine was 8,000 hours, and that was work full time 5,000. So 8,000 hours. That was 4 years of working full time and going to school at night.
It was 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, mine was 4. So then after that, to become a master plumber, it was another 2,000. It was another 2 years. So I spent 10,000 hours to become an expert in my field. So I just talk about getting skills.
Hey JoJo, let me say one other thing quick. I'm gonna quote Robert Kiyosaki. It's in my PowerPoint. One of the most powerful words in the world of business is network. Think about that next time you talk to somebody and they say, one of those, they're not educated, they're ignorant. So one of the most powerful words in the world of business is network. The richest people in the world look for and build networks. Everyone else looks for work. So again, it goes back to the carpet guy. He said, yeah, he built a network, but it wasn't the same. It didn't have passive residual income built into his network. But he still went out and did the same thing that it takes to build an isogenics business. He networked with people. So it's a powerful concept, powerful principle. The students at Carey School, they were completely ignorant to this. And in the live stream, if you go to livestream.com and go into the library there, I put together 6 video trainings on generating wealth. Is it creating wealth or generating wealth? Wealth creation, I think, is what it's called. Wealth creation. The first 5 don't even talk about the compensation plan. It goes deeper into these principles. So if you want to have your own aha and pull it into your own brain, go to Livestream, search livestream.com, search Dave MacArthur, and then, she'll post the link on the ISA Team M2M. Creating wealth is what it's called. It gets deep into the philosophy so that when I finally do get to the isogenics compensation plan, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep tonight, because you see the two, how they are married together. Don't call me though when you can't sleep, because I'm past it now. So
thank you, Dave. Thank you, Carrie. Carrie, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, Carrie.
Sorry, I was just going to say you can spend 10,000 hours becoming a master plumber so that you can trade your time for your money, or you can spend 10,000 hours becoming a professional master network marketer, and who knows where you'll be after 10,000 hours.
I like that.
And what's cool is that after you become a master plumber, you can spend the next time while you're being a master plumber learning skills and being paid for your internship while you do that.
Exactly.
Or you can be a master electrician and then turn into a master network marketer.
Exactly. Yep.
There you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Hey, I see Kathy's smiling face up there. So I think before we end off tonight, I just want to hand it over to Carl and Kathy and let them finish us out tonight. So thanks, Dave and Carrie. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Hi, Kathy.
Hey guys, sorry I missed it. I was having just an awesome networking with an amazing woman who's very well connected that I'm super excited about. And then I spent about an hour on the phone with a new business builder. So I apologize I wasn't here earlier, but it was really fun.
You were networking. All of you guys should have not been here tonight. You should have been networking.
Well, it's for getting our part of our 10,000 hours in, Dave. Well, I just want to finish up by saying, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I met a guy named Todd Falcone at Eric Worre's event in Las Vegas last summer or last fall. And I got to know him a little bit and talk to him. And he said, I went to college and they called my mom up and said, hey, and he got done, had all these loans and stuff. He says, hey, I met some people and I'm going to have my own business. And his mom was really excited. And she said, well, what is it? And he says, well, it's network marketing. She says, well, if you do that, don't expect me to help you pay your college loans. As if you just wasted all your college money because now you're doing network marketing. He just said, well, I went to these job interviews and everybody's all stiff. They didn't treat me nice and it seemed so competitive and everything. But when I looked at network marketing, everybody was just so friendly and it just a great group of people and they were so supportive. He said, I wanted to be with that group of people. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And, I think that's the way we all feel. We want to be with this group of people, right?
Amen.
Hey, since you brought up Todd Falcone, just so you guys know, on August 6th, the day before celebration starts, right? So we have leadership on August 7th, but on August 6th, Jay Coburn is going to be hosting a Super Saturday in Vegas, and Todd Falcone will be there. There will be some amazing trainers. I know Jimmy Smith will be there. George and Adrian Ruiz will be there. Dave and Carrie are going to speak. I think Vinny and I will be there to do something. We don't know what yet, but we'll be there. So, so just so you guys know, what a great way to kick off our celebration is to really already go in with the mindset. And this will be actually my first experience with Todd Falcone. I haven't actually trained him live yet, so this will be fun. But so if you want to get tickets for that, we will. It hasn't been put up yet, so we're getting that together, and hopefully by the end of the weekend we'll have the information out to everybody. So
and I believe it's not going to be very expensive at all. I think they're talking right now $25 or $30 for associates and free for your people you like to bring, your prospects. So it's really cool. And who wouldn't want to see Todd Falcone, Jimmy Smith, and Dave MacArthur and Carrie MacArthur all on the same stage together? Right. That's pretty cool.
Amanda says it's $50 a couple, $30 an individual. So, and I know that, I don't know, Amanda, is the Eventbrite link up yet?
I think we're posting it on July 16th. I just wrote June, but I think it'll be done and ready by July 16th. They're doing a poster, and we'll have some interviews with all the people that'll be presenting there, and we'll kind of put together a cool promo video, and Eventbrite will be open, I think, July 16th, give or take.
So much. And we'll, so, for our team, definitely it'll go up in our team pages, and I'm sure that everyone will be able to get it to their teams also. So, good to see you, Pam and Larry. I'm glad you're here. Didn't know that was you guys. Yeah, for sure. We'll get you the info. So, I think that unless anybody has any questions, we could, something they want to add in. Potentially losing battery. Yeah, awesome. Okay. So
we'll make it quick.
But so if anybody has anything they want to add in or ask a question of anybody or have a little chat, let's do that. Mona Sims, I'm going to be in Oceanside for a month. I hope we're going to spend some time together.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, Kathy. Glad that we got to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Carl.
Bye-bye.